Salam keluarga Malaysia. Hello and good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brendan Paul and you're watching News at 10. In our top stories tonight, IPG and rubber market price to be reviewed. Also, police force fully ready for GE15. The Barisan Nasional government is one that is concerned with the welfare and needs of the people, including youths. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Semasa said this is reflected through various forms of assistance given, as well as the announcement of initiatives for youth groups, including housing and business aspects to improve their socio-economic status.
Business, dari segi perniagaan banyak yang telah diumumkan oleh kerajaan untuk pinjaman mudah kepada golongan belia. Untuk mobile preneur, kalau siapa ingat, orang pernah ingat, kita ada mobile preneur dulu. Mereka menggunakan motosikal tu. Tahun ini diluluskan semula. Dulu waktu kerajaan lama dulu, kerajaan 22 bulan dulu, sebelum perkara itu dibatalkan. Sekarang kita kembalikan untuk mobile preneur. Riders biasalah dengan perkara ini. Mungkin riders boleh memohon untuk mendapatkan motosikal untuk digunakan sebagai untuk perniagaan.
As a testimony of the government's concern to ensuring youths can also afford their own homes, Datuk Seri Semasa cited the announcement of the Housing Loan Guarantee Scheme, which allows those with no salary slips to apply for housing loans. He said this scheme opens up opportunities for young people to own houses because the government itself will be the guarantor for their housing loans. He, however, reminded the people that Budget 2023 would, quote, need the people's support as it needs to be tabled again to be approved, given that Parliament was dissolved 3 days after it was presented. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri has also given his assurances to review the rubber market price set for the Rubber Production Incentive, IPG, if he returns to lead the government after the 15th General Election GE15.
Ramai yang memohon supaya ditingkatkan. Datuk Seri Salim bangkitkan dalam Parlimen, jumpa saya berkali-kali memohon supaya RM2.50 dipertingkatkan. Saya pun dah berbincang dengan Menteri Kewangan. Kita akan lihat perkara ini. InsyaAllah, kalau diberi peluang memerintah semula Malaysia ini, kita akan kaji dengan teliti perkara ini untuk kepentingan pekebun tersebut.
The Premier said the government is aware of how important the rubber plantation sector is to improve the country's economy and has introduced various initiatives and assistance to increase the income of smallholders. In fact, he said that rubber is the only commodity that is still given full assistance by the government. In addition to IPG, he said, the government also introduced a rubber replanting program with a target area of 20,000 hectares, which now exceeds 10,000 hectares, with the participation of 7,180 smallholders. Meanwhile, in order to increase income through the productivity of rubber products, the Premier said the government introduced the Rubber Productivity Incentive Scheme, SIPG, involving an allocation of 31.1 million ringgit to achieve an annual production of 1,800 kg per hectare. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said the 2.6 billion ringgit set aside for the commodities sector in the 2023 budget will provide the country's rubber smallholders with numerous benefits.
Antara inisiatif yang akan dilaksanakan bagi memajukan sektor komoditi negara adalah seperti berikut. Yang pertama, 315 juta ringgit bagi program pembangunan kawasan bertanam getah pekebun kecil untuk menggantikan pokok getah tua untuk manfaat 315 Yang kedua, program pembangunan semula hasil baru bagi menggalakkan pekebun kecil meneroka pendapatan baru selain getah seperti tanaman makanan jangka pendek dengan peruntukan 40 juta ringgit.
The Premier said the commodity sector is one of the keys to the country's economic growth, and the government is always committed to ensuring that initiatives and assistance can be channeled for the prosperity and well-being of the smallholders. He also expressed hope that all smallholders, especially in Pahang, will continue to take advantage of the opportunities provided through the Rural Development Ministry and RISDA. Apart from a latex production incentive to improve the supply chain of rubber raw materials through cooperatives, Ismail said the Agricultural Protection Scheme would also be introduced to protect agricultural operators from any out-of-control risks such as weather, disease and pests. Police have identified less than 100 areas with hotspot status in the 15th General Election G15. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Akril Sani Abdullah Sani said personnel have been assigned to be stationed at all the hotspots pinpointed. Commenting further on the matter, the IGP said, through intelligence from the district police, some areas have been identified as quite hot in terms of campaigns, emotional sentiments and so on. In regards to that, he said the police have made the appropriate assignments to cool rising temperatures when campaigning comes later. Tan Sri Akril said a policeman would be stationed at each polling channel, which involves more than 38,000 channels, in addition to personnel and officers on patrol duty for public control. He noted that all of them will be on duty starting from the day of nomination and campaigning to ensure that there are no elements that disrupt public order. Tan Sri Akril Sani also reminded those involved in election campaigning to be orderly and to adhere to the law and SOP set. Previously, the IGP was reported to have said that a total of 94,411 out of 120,557 police officers and personnel will be mobilized to face GE15. The Election Commission, SPR, has set polling day for 19 November with nominations on 5th November, while early voting is on 15 November. And on another note, Tan Sri Akril Sani said police will submit the revised findings of investigations involving Tan Sri Tommy Thomas to the Attorney General's Chambers, AGC, once the process has been completed. He said it involved 4 investigation papers, IP, regarding the former Attorney General's memoir, My Story, Justice in the Wilderness, and 1 IP on Thomas's statement at a forum on 17 September.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kita buat semua, keterangan kita ambil. Segala perkara yang berkaitan dengan apa yang ditomah itu akan kita ambil kira. Dan kita akan serahkan kepada pihak hukum negara. Mereka lah yang akan menentukan sama ada mereka akan kumpulkan sebagai satu kesalahan atau mereka akan buat berasingan.
Elaborating, the IGP said Tan Sri Thomas's statements were recorded in Bukit Aman on 27 October, while Parti Sosialis Malaysia Chairman Dr. Michael Jayakumar Devarajas on 22nd October, adding that their statements will be taken into account and included with the investigation findings to be updated. He said this when asked about the latest development in the investigation involving the former Attorney General. On 28 October, the AGC was reported to have returned the investigation papers to the police last Tuesday to be completed. Tan Sri Thomas and Dr. Jayakumar were also reportedly called by the police to have their statements recorded regarding allegations that the former AG made racially charged statements in a forum last month. Coming up, Kelantan to get 5G service as early as next year. Stay with us. But first, 24 errant traders were subject to legal action during the implementation of the festive season maximum price control scheme as HMMP in conjunction with the Deepavali celebration from 26 to 30th October. The Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, KBDNHGP Enforcement Director Azman Adam said it was the result of an inspection of 111 wholesale premises and 4,228 retail premises during the period. He said among the offences identified were selling price-controlled items above the maximum price that has been set, failing to display price tag and special pink price tag. Elaborating further through a statement release, Azman said the items listed as price control items under the SHMMP were imported bone-in mutton, tomatoes, red chilies, coconut, grated coconut, shallots, India, imported large onions and lentils, Australia. According to Azman, the implementation of the scheme is a proactive step by the government in addressing the cost of living of the people, especially during the Deepavali festival. Consumers with any information regarding the misconduct of traders can lodge a report to KBDNHGP either via WhatsApp, portal, call centre, email, or through the EZ Adu smartphone application. The banking industry has launched a National Scam Awareness Campaign (NSAC) in conjunction with the Financial Literacy Month 2022 FLM22 exhibition as a continuation of its efforts to combat and educate consumers regarding scams.
On the different types of modus operandi of employment.
The campaign, supported by Bank Negara Malaysia (BNM), is jointly organised by the Association of Banks in Malaysia (ABM), Association of Islamic Banking and Financial Institutions Malaysia, and Association of Development Finance Institutions Malaysia. BNM Deputy Governor Dato' Marzunizam Omar said, during the campaign, the public can expect to see more prominent scam awareness advertisements, messages and prompts on banks' own channels, as well as mainstream and social media.
As digital finance becomes increasingly pervasive, and as new threats emerge, the effort to educate the public must be sustained well into the future. We cannot rest on our laurels. I would like to reiterate that the fight against financial scams is one fought on multiple fronts. We are only stronger if we work together and play our part in order to safeguard the security and integrity of our country's financial system.
The NSAC campaign, which will be rolled out next month, is a continuation of the banking industry's efforts to combat and educate consumers regarding scams while sharing easy tips to stay safe online. The campaign also complements the 5 key measures announced by BNM in September. Kelantan will enjoy faster internet speed services and 5G internet access as early as next year. Communications and Multimedia Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa said the priority was being given based on several development prospects that are in the implementation stage in the state.
Kepentingan 5G ini adalah suatu pendekatan strategik untuk menggalakkan pertumbuhan industri di Kelantan. Sebab industri sekarang ini, kalau kita nak bawa daripada luar negara, dia akan tanya ada 5G atau tidak.
Tan Sri Anwar said DNB had agreed and will start it immediately, in addition to holding negotiations to connect the 5G tower sites being carried out in the Kota Baru districts, with completion expected in another 2 to 3 months, or as early as 2023. According to him, the effort also provides an ecosystem to start planning Kelantan as a regional logistics hub, not only in Kelantan, but can reach up to Thailand. He noted that the supply of 5G technology in the main towns in Kota Baru district, besides the state capital, especially Kok Lantas, Melo, Peringkat and Kadok, have been selected by DNB to speed up additional sites. He underscored that industry is starting to use Internet of Things, IoT, Internet Office, robotics, facial recognition, artificial intelligence, and so on that require 5G and are highly needed by young people. He added that development carried out required quality broadband services to attract investment, especially from abroad. Kedah Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Muhammad Sanusi Mat Noor today tabled in the State Legislative Assembly a 1.059 billion ringgit state budget for next year, which is said would focus on three main strategies in an effort to achieve the Kedah Sejahtera Nikmat untuk Semua concept. Commenting further, he said, next year's deficit was estimated at 14.17% or 104.12 million ringgit, which takes into account revenue projections, operating expenditure, and the allocation of the Forest Development Fund, as well as the Water Supply Fund. The estimated operating expenditure for next year would be 839.12 million ringgit, and of that amount, as much as 104.04 million ringgit will be allocated as contribution to the Development Fund. Datuk Seri Muhammad Sanusi said the estimated development expenditure will be 220 million ringgit, involving 9 implementing departments. Meanwhile, the State Menteri Besar said Kedah projected to collect 735 million ringgit in revenue next year, with tax revenue being the largest contributor of 346.95 million ringgit, or 47.2%. He said the three main strategies were to restore and invigorate domestic economic growth, to improve the quality of life and well-being of the people, and to optimize digital technology and improve the effectiveness of service delivery to the people. Coming up in our foreign segment, people shoved in narrow alley causes South Korea stampede. Stay with us. But first, emergency workers scrambled to rescue residents trapped by floods in and around the Philippine capital today as tropical storm Nalgai swept out the country after killing at least 48 people. Several neighborhoods in towns and cities just outside Manila remain underwater after the storm raked across the main island of Luzon overnight, cutting power supplies and inflicting damage. The death toll from the storm rose to 48. The National Disaster Agency said on Sunday, most of them from a series of flash floods and landslides that destroyed villages on the southern island of Mindanao on Friday. In the Manila suburb of Paranaque, rescuers swam through 3-meter floodwaters overnight to reach 60 people, including children, marooned on an upper floor of a building. Port operations, however, have slowly resumed as thousands of stranded passengers traveled in time for the All Saints' Day holiday on Tuesday, when millions of Filipinos visit the graves of relatives. The Civil Defense Office said 22 people were missing and 40 were injured, with bridges, roads and crops also destroyed. An average of 20 typhoons and storms hit the Philippines annually, killing hundreds each year and leaving vast areas of the country in perpetual poverty. A sudden surge of Halloween crowds instantly packing a narrow 4-meter-wide downhill alley in Seoul's Itaewon district resulted in the deadliest stampede in South Korea, according to witnesses and authorities today. With its hip nightlife and chic restaurants, Itaewon, home to expat communities in central Seoul, is by far the most popular spot for Halloween party-goers, and tens of thousands of people visited the area on Saturday night. According to Yonhap News Agency, the back alley in question is a downhill 4-meter by 40-meter path that links a busy restaurant district with the main street, where about 6 adults can barely pass at the same time. Massive crowds of partygoers piled into the narrow alley Saturday night to celebrate the first maskless Halloween season since the first COVID-19 outbreaks in early 2020, after the outdoor mask-wearing mandate was completely lifted nationwide in September. The stampede began instantly after some people fell over and caused others to fall down like dominoes and pile up on one another, unable to move or breathe. The densely packed crowds made it difficult for rescuers and police officers to pass a 100-meter distance to the accident scene and disentangle victims for help, rendering the death toll extremely heavy. A sudden influx of about 300 patients needing CPR and other first aid measures also left rescuers short-handed. Michel Aoun, the 89-year-old president who presided over Lebanon's cataclysmic financial meltdown and the deadly Beirut port blast, vacates the presidential palace today, leaving a void at the top of a failing state. Lebanon Parliament has so far been unable to agree on a successor in the role, which has the power to sign bills into law, appoint new prime ministers, and greenlight government formations before they are voted on by Parliament. Like during more than half of Aoun's time in office, Lebanon is currently governed by a caretaker cabinet as the premier-designate has been trying for 6 months to form a government. Thousands of supporters gathered at Babda Palace to say farewell to Aoun, wearing the orange associated with his Free Patriotic Movement party and carrying portraits of him as president and from decades ago when he served as army commander. Aoun secured the presidency in 2016 in a deal that brought then leading Sunni politician Saad al-Hariri back as prime minister. The 6-year term that followed saw Lebanon's army fight off militants of the Syrian border in 2017 with Hezbollah's help. A new electoral law passed in 2018 and top energy companies begin exploratory drilling in offshore blocks in 2020. And in sports, Bayern. But first, India emerged champions of the Sultan of Johor Cup SOJC 2022 with a 5-4 penalty shootout win over Australia after both teams were tied 1-1 in regulation time in the final at the Tamandaya Hockey Stadium, Johor Bahru, last night. With the win, India have now lifted the SOJC for the third time after clinching it in 2013 and 2014. India, coached by C.R. Kumar, shot ahead in the 14 minutes through a Sudik Chimako field goal, but Australia equalised in the second quarter with a field goal of their own by Jack Holland in the 29th minute. Neither team could break the deadlock, forcing the tie to be decided in a penalty shootout, which India won 5-4 when their goalkeeper Shashikumar Mohit Honenahali thwarted Joshua Brooks' attempt. India thus denied Australia the chance to add to their collection of SOJC titles after winning the tournament in 2016 and 2017. Meanwhile, Australia's Cooper Burns was named the best player, while India's Sharda Nand Tiwari emerged as the top scorer. The Tunku Temanggung of Johor, Tunku Idris Iskandar Al-Haj Sultan Ibrahim, presented the trophy for the 10th edition of the SOJC to India. Meanwhile, the national junior hockey squad ended up last after going down 3-2 in a placing match to South Africa yesterday. In the 6-team competition, Malaysia only drew one match when they held Japan 2-2 and lost the other matches to Australia, Great Britain, India and South Africa. The last time the national under-21 hockey team emerged as champion to the SOJC was in the inaugural edition in 2012. National head coach Muhammad Amin Rahim said he was pleased with the team's overall performance considering their lack of training. He added that his focus now would be to prepare them for the Hockey Junior World Cup in November 2023. And in football, Bayern Munich demolished visitors Mainz 05 6-2 on Saturday, with Sadio Mane scoring once and setting up 2 more goals to take over the lead in the Bundesliga. Another quick Bayern move. Mainz came agonizingly close to pulling back a goal when Burkhardt rattled the crossbars of stoppage time when Sylvan Widmer headed in from Choupo-Moting and Musiala in the second half did not let up and Mane curled in a superb cross in the 58 for Leon Goretzka to head in. 2 more. And in motorsports, Red Bull's Max Verstappen put himself on pole position for the Mexico City Grand Prix with his sights set on a record 14 Formula One victory of the season. The Dutch 25-year-old has secured his second World Championship in Japan this month with 4 races to spare, lapped the high-speed Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez with the fastest time of 1 minute 17.775 seconds. Mercedes' George Russell joined him on the front row, qualifying 0.005 ahead of 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, with Red Bull's Mexican Sergio Perez, the fourth fastest, with the crowd roaring their support. The pole was the 19th of Verstappen's career, and he will be hoping to convert it into a fourth Mexican victory to take the outright record of most wins in a season from German greats Michael Schumacher and Sebastian Vettel. Red Bull have won the last 8 races and 15 of 19 so far. Mercedes, who have yet to win this year, can take hope from history with the winner of the last 2 races at the high-altitude circuit, coming from 3rd on the grid.
Yes, let's go, guys. Let's go.
Brooks Koepka led Smash to a sweep in Saturday's semi-finals and into the finals of the LIV Golf Team Championship at Trump National Doral in Miami. They joined 4 aces, Stinger and Punch in Sunday's finale. Brooks Koepka defeated Ian Poulter 3-1 and Peter Uihlein bested Lee Westwood 4-2 to lead Smash over the Majestics. Jason Kokrak and Chase Koepka put the finishing touches on the sweep by defeating Hendrik Stenson and Sam Horsfield 1-up in the foursomes match. Dustin Johnson's 4 aces and Louis Oosthuizen's Stinger earned a bye straight into Saturday's semis, avoiding playing in Friday's quarters. Johnson won his match over Shergo Al-Kurdi of Cliques, but 4 aces needed a win by Pat Perez and Taylor Gooch in foursomes to secure the victory. Stinger also needed a win in foursomes over Crushers to advance. Oosthuizen defeated Bryson DeChambeau 1-up to get things going for Stinger. Punch fell behind when captain Cameron Smith fell to Sergio Garcia 2-1 in their match. But Mark Leishman defeated Carlos Ortiz, and Matt Jones and Wade Ormsby bested Abraham Anser and Eugenio Chacarra 1-up in foursomes to clinch. Sunday's final round will utilize standard stroke play. All 4 players on each team will compete and everyone's scores will count toward the team score, with the lowest team score winning the team championship and $16 million from the $50 million prize pool. That concludes this evening's news at 10. Our top story, IPG and rubber market price to be reviewed. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. Till then, I'm Brendan LaPaul. Stay tuned to Solar and Berita RTM. Have a fantastic week ahead and take care.